Call this meeting to order. Roll call. Council at Large Boots. Here. At Large Spear. Here. Council Ward number 1 Leaper. Here. Ward number 2 Anderson. Here. Ward number 3 McNeil. Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, there is one modification to the agenda. I would like to strike under discussion items. The first one, the Plans Telephone Company. That should be for our next meeting and not this one. So is there a motion to strike that?
So moved.
Boots with first and McNeil with the second.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leaper?
Yes.
All right. So then with that subtraction, is there a motion to approve this agenda?
I have.
Whoop, wait.
Oh, are we lumping everything together? I'm sorry. Or
No,
just the
this is just
agenda?
for the agenda, yep.
Okay, I'll second.
Boots with the first and Spear with the second.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leaper?
Yes.
All right, then moving on to the communications, the unscheduled portion. If there's anybody who'd like to address the council, please move to the podium. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Marlene Johnson. I live at 601 West 8th Street in Tipton, Iowa. And first, I just would like to say thank you to Mr. Long for being here as the interim manager. You've done a very nice job, and I've especially appreciated the collaboration that you and I have been able to bring to the table between the school and the community. So thank you very much for that. I'd also like to thank the council for your hard work during this transition time. I know that many times it's a voluntary position, and you know, it doesn't matter sometimes which way you turn. It's probably not always right and not always wrong in all our perceptions, but thank you for your work. I hope that as this transition continues with the new manager that comes in, that you continue to be a decision-making council, because you have really fine employees who make really strong recommendations and have done their homework really well. So I hope that you continue to utilize their expertise and their recommendations when they bring it to the table. And finally, I hope that when the new manager comes on board that you are timely when it's time to bring a decision to the table, so that Ms. Beck can find a new office in which the parameters of what we've been seeking, and that it can be timely so that the chamber and the commission and you can work together to find her a new area to be placed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else? Seeing as there is none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which can be enacted with one motion, which are the city council minutes from April 17th, library minutes from March 21st, the library director's report from March 2017, and liquor license at Tiger's Den Food and Spirits.
My one correction would be on the minutes. Spear did not make a motion for the consent agreement. That didn't done. Okay.
All right. Then is there a new motion then to enact all of these on this consent agenda?
So moved.
Spear with the first.
Second.
And Leaper with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leaper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, so those have been passed, and now on to public hearing. There needs to be a motion to open the public hearing for the Matthews Memorial Airport Airfield Pavement Maintenance Project.
So moved.
Boots with the first,
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leaper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, so this hearing is now open. Representative from McClure.
Yep, so the project that we're talking about is a a maintenance, airfield maintenance project at the airport on the pavement. Consists of crack sealing on some of the cracks in the runway as well as some partial depth patches. The reason we're doing the project is to take advantage of the FAA funds that are available for the city at a 90-10 match. Do you have any specific questions on the project that we want to discuss?
What was the timeline?
That's a great question. I believe we're looking to construct the project, this
In June, I believe.
Yep.
I'm not sure that was exactly told to me,
Okay.
but that's my assumption right
Yep,
now.
no, that's all I've heard that I think it'll happen.
And it's gonna take at least 2 weeks, isn't that your?
I've got to pull this up, exactly the timeline. It's contingent on the FAA approval, but I would imagine it would be a pretty short project, yes. Don't really have the exact schedule.
Well, the last thing I was told was that we'd have to close the airport for 2 weeks, and probably the second week in June of the start time. And like he said, contingent on FAA approval or when the funds are
When the
released.
funds are available.
Yep.
Let's see here, exactly.
No, I've not seen a document written down. That was a question we asked.
The contractor was gonna be Triple B, wasn't it? Isn't that who?
Uh,
For some reason that's sticking in my head.
No, the low bidder is Farner Asphalt Sealers.
Right,
I don't know,
okay.
you-
I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
Triple B.
They're doing the park.
Oh, that's right, they're doing the park. Mr. Hodgson?
Yeah, I have a question. I noticed that you are able to add some additional work to the original proposal on repairing the runway and that. What additional work has been added?
Yeah, it's just been additional pavement, a little bit of additional pavement rehab work. I think some extra cracks in our
Right.
patches.
On
There's
the runway itself or?
on the apron actually,
Apron, okay.
and in the taxiway between the apron and the runway.
Good.
Those two
Okay.
places,
Well,
yes.
it's good that you're able to get more accomplished than you originally planned. One other question, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I've heard that on the lighting out there, you've had to leave lights on all day long because there's something that's broken that you haven't been able to get fixed as far as the lighting on the runway. Is that something that could possibly be worked into this project with FAA taking 90% of that cost? So-
I'd like to know when the lights were on all day long, because I am not aware that that's happened
All night long.
all night long.
Yeah.
Night long, yeah.
Oh, okay, now I understand what you're asking us. Those lights are regulated by an electric eye. In the new runway proposal, there is runway lights that will be activated with your mic in the airplane.
Right.
Okay. There's not anything that I know of in the works to change that until that new runway is put into effect.
Okay, well, my understanding was there used to be something that would,
There was a timer at one time.
okay, and that's not possible to put them back on time?
Well, it went haywire and it was replaced with this. That was before my time.
So, well, if that's, and I've heard it's expensive to replace that timer, but would it, in the long run, my question, I guess, is if FAA would cover part of the cost, I mean, now would be the time to pick up something like that. It'd be fine.
I honestly don't believe they are going to invest in the existing, as long as we have this new plan on the books.
Okay,
That has been asked before, and that's kind of the opinion that I was put with, is the fact that we're gonna do with what we have until we get the new system in, because then it'll be all brand new, it'll be LED, it'll be quite more efficient than what we have now.
All right. Any more questions for McClure or Max? All right, if there's a motion to close this public hearing, Anderson with the first. And McNeil with the second.
Boots? Yes. Anderson?
yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now we'll go on to letter L, which is the motions for approval. The first one is the claims list. Is there anything from the claims list that needs to be pulled out?
I just had a question there on,
Yes.
on the chemical properties that we're cleaning up. Is that assessed back onto the property then after that?
Yeah, it's a pass-through, like the Friends of the Animals, yeah. Yeah, the city does not make any profit, straight through to the homeowner. Any others? All right, is there a motion to approve this claims list?
So moved.
Spear with the first,
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots? Yes.
All right, so that has been approved, and now, if anybody would like to take this off the table, we can now, or we can just leave it on the table until the next meeting, which is consider the amended job description for park grounds maintenance worker. Does anybody want to take that off the table?
I would make a motion to take it off the table.
All right, Spear was the first to take it off the table. I feel like an auctioneer/gambler. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Anderson with the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
No.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
All right, so that has been brought off the table. Is there any discussion, or I guess Pam, you weren't here last time,
No.
so you get
Sorry.
filled in?
Well, and I guess I've had some conversation about all of it. I felt like the first meeting that it was brought to us, that I didn't think all of the options were explored. And I know Steve and I have since talked, and, and I understand that there's new laws in place that dictate how we have to handle the position we had. I can't imagine that there's not a way that we can't still incorporate an hourly salary that we can't go hourly. We can't hire people hourly.
We can hire people hourly, we can't put them on salary, we can't spread
Right,
their,
and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She was on salary.
right,
Okay,
that's what we couldn't do.
okay. So, have we even looked at trying to do that, where we could put her on as an hourly person? And see the cost there. Some of the things that were part of the discussion for me were, if we have to bring a position on as is it a U14? Or anyway, it comes out to, I think, $18 an hour, right,
Yes.
Steve? And that seemed fairly high to me to be paying someone to just mow. And I know there's other assignments, but I know this leaves the park in a precarious position right now, and this probably should have been reviewed and looked at, 3 months ago, but yeah, 6 months, whatever. I just don't know if there's anything you can do, Steve and Tim, that we could get more options.
I think we ought to have the option of going to the private sector and taking bids.
And that is part of the option.
That
To
is
see
true.
what we get, or to see what we would pay hourly. I think what I felt like, and I know that you were under the gun, but I felt like something was thrown together quickly and then put in front of us, and I just didn't feel like,
It was.
yeah, and I didn't feel like, all the options were explored.
And if you remember back to the beginning of this year, we as a council decided no new hires. Did we not?
Yeah, we did. That was one of the
Okay.
discussions we had when we were doing budget.
One of the other things is, why not put it out for bids for this particular situation and find out what happens then? We need to get something done, and we need to get it done in a short period of time. If we're going to put this job out for bids, we need to do it with a motion tonight to get it done so we can advertise it get people to bring bids to us and have it here to vote on for the next council meeting.
Council meeting after that, since that'll be when my year starts.
Yeah, it's really not practical for us to develop a spec and get it advertised and have a decent response in a week and a half.
Okay?
But if that was a thrust of the council, we can put it together.
I think that's what we should
Just,
get going, get it done.
so just to make sure though, this will be for mowing and spraying every single city.
Exactly.
And maintenance of
All of it.
washrooms, all the things that are in the job description that we.
Why can't the maintenance of the washrooms go back to the administrator, the shower, at the Aqua Center?
It's,
He has people working for him, they're there, they can go do it. Take turns. You do it today, you do it tomorrow, you do it the next day. It's a very simple thing to do, just go check a restroom and make sure there's toilet paper and paper towels in there, and that they're clean.
I'm cleaned.
Yeah,
I guess when that comment is made, Mayor, I'm not sure that I see it feasible as someone taking, are you suggesting they would do the cemetery and the airport?
No,
Okay.
no,
No,
just
just
Okay.
the
all
other,
within city limits.
Like
around
the
City
library
Hall,
and
the fire station, the utilities,
water
plants,
plant.
Mhm.
the library.
the library was,
And then the spraying and everything with that as well.
Is there something you can check on, Steve, on as far as hourly and if it would be possible to have the employee do what you were doing
that's
on an hourly
what the job,
basis?
that's the job that we brought forward, would be that there'd be an hourly employee who would cover all those odd pieces of property the city has, not including the cemetery or the airport.
Mhm. But that was with this job description as a full-time.
It was a 30-hour-week job.
I'm kind of curious, if we were going to be hiring a new public works employee, would we be starting at $18.40 as a wage?
If we were gonna hire,
A full-time?
that's our starting line. It's a city worker one.
All right.
So I don't know that we.
No,
advanced
that's-
this any farther, but,
No, I was fully expecting this to be put back on the table.
okay, and I just felt like some discussion needed to be held with it.
So then is there a motion to put it back on the table?
So moved.
Leaper with the first,
Second.
and McNeil with the second?
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And Mayor, just FYI, council, we're patching together mowing and general maintenance with other staff.
I'm aware of that, and
So
I'm sorry it got
Park will look-
down.
the park will continue to look pretty good.
Okay, good.
Especially if it stops raining.
Yeah, right. Why don't you mow in that window?
Yeah.
Yeah, move it, stop raining.
I'll second that. I got
That wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, I can't
All right, so now number 3, the consideration of commitment to a 5-year loan agreement to Tedco for the refinancing of the loan for the 45 acres of property in the industrial park.
I'll open the discussion on that. As we've been discussing informally for the last several months, there was a loan come due for the remaining 45 acres of the industrial park that came due at the end of March, and there was a note attached to that loan. The loan was from Tedco to the owners of the land, and there was a note that the city guaranteed that loan with a letter of credit, and the letter of credit from against the city was in the amount of $360,000. The loan to the property owners was slightly higher than that, and the Tedco board and staff, city attorney have discussed a number of ways to resolve that issue, and I'm just going to touch on several of them. One was to simply not repay the loan, in which case the sellers of the land would net a significant benefit to themselves, and it would be to the deficit of TEDCO and the city. That was pretty readily rejected out of hand. The other was to have the city have the note exercised against the city, which means we would draw down reserves from one of our reserve funds to make good on the loan. And the third of the several varieties of proposals was that TEDCO and local banks would put together a package in which the local banks would lend the money, taking a first position against the property of the industrial park. And after a couple of meetings, came to an agreement that was the best alternative. It didn't impinge on other city funds. It provided for 5 years at a set rate of interest, which is something that the city hasn't had with the property owners before, who tended to renegotiate the loan interest at a very favorable term. So the recommendation that the TEDCO board and attorney, the city attorney, the city finance staff, and myself was that that is the best option to pursue a loan with 3 local banks, advancing the funds and clearing that original loan with the property owners so that the loan is much more simply established. TEDCO's attorney, with some assistance from us and from the city attorney, has been sorting through all the legals for the property so that the whole thing is tied up in a much more digestible, discernible, manageable package. And she has, I talked to her a couple of hours ago, and she was still working on getting all the title work laid out. This loan would have, that we'll be bringing back to you, and TEDCO will have the city in a second position, not a first position, as collateralized, but we all determined that was in the best interest, and it kept the banks on board. Trying to think if there was some other piece of that, but what we're asking for is council's approval to proceed so that we can get this tied down and have the several parties involved in this wrap this up. Steve, what am I forgetting?
I guess have we squarely addressed the refinancing aspect?
In earlier paperwork, but it wouldn't hurt to revisit it.
Okay. In looking at the original, I guess the agreements with the bank, what's changed over time is the amount of property serving as collateral for the banks as a first mortgage. It just turned out that it wouldn't cash flow for the banks in order to have that first just on the 45 acres. It has to be over all of the property, which puts the city in second priority. And with 5-year bank terms, even with a neighborly relationships with these banks, there is a possibility with change of directors and examiners and whatnot that, at some point, as these would renew every 5 years, it's an interest-only loan, that it could get called, at which point I think that the city would need to step up to protect its interest and pay that principal, which is currently around $360,000. All the while, as these 5-year terms renew, TEDCO would basically just be revolving its income on the property into interest. So it wouldn't have that money to offset operational funds or developing, site work and things that it's traditionally funded. So in an effort to keep this from being a perpetual loan to TEDCO, with the interest being paid year after year after year, with a risk every 5 years of the city having to cough up the entire principal, which obviously could be reduced over the years as sales come through. Sitting down with Tim and finance department, it was our recommendation to, rather than be reactive and potentially have to, cough that money up at some point down the line in order to protect the city's interest and get it back in a first priority, to go ahead and propose entering into an agreement with TEDCO to basically refinance that loan over a 5-year period, which would allow the city to budget for that $360,000 over the next 5 years and ultimately pay off that loan to the banks. And in conjunction with this, I'll be working with TEDCO's attorney to tidy up past paperwork, get a comprehensive note in place for all funds that have been loaned, work out some terms with respect to that, get a mortgage in place, which will originally have second priority over the entire 70 or so acres that are out there. And to also, I think in place of that existing loan agreement, to come up with an agreement to set forth the basic terms and parameters of the parties' relationships moving forward now that the property's been acquired. And that agreement, I would anticipate, would have the terms of repayment on the 5-year refinancing, which I anticipate the repayment will be slower in those first 5 years, as the bank is taking a portion of any proceeds of sales, and the city then sharing in those. And then at the end of that 5-year period, when the bank loan's paid off, have a readjustment with the percentage of sales proceeds increasing and the city getting a bigger chunk then going forward. So basically, what I would like to see is a motion to approve in principle the refinancing of TEDCO's commercial loan over a 5-year period, and to authorize the city attorney to negotiate the terms of that loan agreement and return to the council with a proposed written agreement to set this all in stone, so to speak.
So this is just giving you the power to go about getting those terms.
Right, a kind of general commitment to the idea that this is acceptable to the council and that we're not wasting our time, and then yes, to work out those little details and come back with something that we can present in a council packet, and you all can have some time to pour over the details and consider.
So are you suggesting that possibly in 5 years we would set aside money to maybe become the mortgage holder?
Pay off.
Yes.
The
to
bank.
pay off, 'cause
So then we would hold title and the interest would come
We,
to us?
TEDCO,
Yes, then after the 5 years when the banks are paid off, the city's second mortgage, the city would become first in priority.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be that looming threat that something could change. Banking regulations could change over time that you can't anticipate. The local banks have been great in putting this package together, and don't foresee an instance in which the notes would be called, but have acknowledged that circumstances do change that are outside of anyone's control, and we're just trying to add an element of certainty to the city's financial status where, or position, where, and you know, speaking with Tim and finance, it's much easier to budget a sum like that than to try to cough it up out of the budget.
Right.
All right, then is there a motion to approve or deny this consideration of a possible plan?
I would make that motion to approve.
Spear with the first and Lieber with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear.
Yes,
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Now, the number 4, which is the consideration of approval for an agreement between McClure Engineering, or agreement for engineering services for improvements to the storm and sanitary sewer systems from McClure Engineering, North Liberty.
Ready? So the agreement that we're putting in front of you today is kind of the follow-up from what we came with here last month. This is the first phase of work that we identified out of the sanitary sewer study that we did over the course of the last year. What this project includes is some additional surveying and manhole inspections on the remaining about 280 manholes in town that we did not inspect during the SSES. It's our belief that we're going to find substantially more defects that merit replacement after those inspections. It also includes what we call rainfall simulation, which is flooding of the storm sewer systems to identify pathways between the storm sewer network and the sanitary sewer system. So when it rains and the storm water is conveyed through the storm sewer system, the pathways that are causing that water to get into the sanitary sewer system. By doing that testing, we'll be able to identify those connections directly and then make a plan to eliminate them. And then the last part of this scope of work would be preliminary and final design through bidding documents of a hydraulic capacity improvements project on Lemon Street, upsizing what's I believe now an 8-inch sanitary sewer to roughly a 15 to 18-inch sanitary sewer on Lemon Street. Including that project is some pavement replacement and sidewalks as well, since we're already going to be tearing up the street to get to the sanitary sewer.
Any questions for these guys?
I didn't include a summary of the cost of the proposal as written.
Yep. Yeah. So this proposal is roughly $198,000, everything included. Like I said, that's going to cover the manhole inspections and analysis, the rainfall simulation analysis, and then the design of the Lemon Street project. What our plan would be to come back for an amendment sometime after the completion of the first 2 parts of those phases of work for design and bidding documents, manhole improvements, and then storm sewer and sanitary sewer, specific storm sewer and sanitary sewer improvements after the rainfall simulation is completed. So all in, we're looking probably around $400,000, which is the number that we presented back in February at the council meeting. This just kind of gets us the first phase down the road so we don't lock ourselves into projects that we don't need to go forward at this point.
All right, then is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Lieber with the first
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
All right. That is passed, and then now it's the consideration to award the low bid of the Matthews Airport pavement crack and sealing to Farner Asphalt Sealers in Dubuque.
Yeah, so I can give a quick summary here. So we had a public hearing just earlier tonight about the plans and specs, but Farner Asphalt Sealers out of Dubuque was the low bidder. Their bid came in at $101,385.48. That number is roughly, I believe, $41,000 less than our engineering estimate. So what that in fact did is because the number came in so low, the FAA match of 90-10 would basically leave a little bit of grant money on the table. So what we recommend is actually awarding the contract to Farner with the additional scope items that we discussed. What that does, and we believe the FAA would give concurrence on this, is allows the city and the airport to get a little bit more work done on the apron and the taxiway, while basically maximizing the $150,000 grant funds that are available from the FAA for the project. So I guess what we'd recommend is to award the contract to Farner for the additional scope items.
And so this is still, our bill would be 15,000.
Yeah, so what it all comes out to, actually, the final number with the additional scope items would be, the city's share would be $17,981. The FAA share would be $161,829.
And that's still 2,000 less than what we originally
Correct.
awarded to you, right?
Yeah, in December 2016, what we looked like we were banking on was $19,055
Yes.
for the city. So it's actually still less than what we initially thought during the planning process.
I think you had said this before, but do you have any numbers on how long you think this would
I think
last?
Mac probably had the best idea, but a couple of weeks, I think.
No, I'm sorry, how long this fix would last, or before we would need to, after they get done sealing, how long does that last?
I see, you're asking me that question, and certainly not forever. I
No,
guess
yeah.
I don't have anything to base an
When was the
accurate
last time
decision.
this was done?
Say that again.
When was the last time this was done?
Gosh, I honestly don't know. We had it painted, which is included in this process. All the markings will be brand new, about 4 years ago. And, but being as we're in the process, we're gonna upgrade that as well. And until we can get the new project, installed,
Mhm.
the goal is to keep this thing.
Yeah.
So, but as far as how long it's gonna last, I don't have an honest, accurate answer for that.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, my understanding is that they've never done a project like this.
Not to this extent. We have cleaned the cracks and put new tar in them, but we've never dug them all the way out, sawed them, and then resealed. Put a new sealant in the bottom and then retar on the top. Never done that extent to it.
Okay.
And that runway's been there since 1969. It was poured in October '69, September '69.
Okay. There's no other questions or discussion. Is there a motion for this?
I'll make the motion.
Anderson with the first,
Second?
and Leeper with the second.
Boots? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, there we go.
All right, thank you.
much.
The one other thing, this does also include you signing the grant application so we can get everything.
All right.
I just wanted to clarify that. So.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right, now to number 6, which is requests for various street and sidewalk closings on East 6th Street. Near Cedar Street for quote-unquote fight nights from the Tiger's Den.
Hi.
Hello.
Proposing to just block off the angle parking and the sidewalk. There will be an entrance and exit on the sidewalk to get into the area. And pretty much the state requires this for anybody to have adult beverages outside. What I'm asking to do is put some tables out there and have an acoustic entertainment for 7 and 11 o'clock on them evenings. That's the Friday night ones. The Saturday is 4 different Saturdays to block off the whole street there to have a street dance with bags tournaments and maybe a bounce house or something like that. It is kind of split up because my liquor license comes due in August, so you're really only approving from May to August. Now I've come back in August and redo this.
Okay. Chief Keffer, do you have any concerns or any questions with the street or anything?
Anything like that, my concern was, I think maybe recommending approving it a month at a time to see how things go. I think it's great to try and bring new stuff into town, but I think a month at a time would be, that way if there were any changes or anything you guys would want to see differently, or maybe Mr. Spargo wanted to try something different, it could be a month by month.
Okay. Steve, anything from Public Works that you can see an issue? Okay.
I like the idea of a month at a time. Are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So this would be May. So the May 12th, 19th, and 26th, we would be approving, and you'd be all right with that right now?
Absolutely, sure.
All right. Then is there a motion to approve this application for the dates of May 12th, 19th, and 26th?
I will second.
Boots with the first and Spear with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
All right. Thank you much.
Days from having pizza, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now the next one is consideration of joint agency emergency response agreement with Iowa Water Wastewater Agency Response Network.
Thanks, Mayor.
Mr. Long?
This was something that was brought to the city's attention just in the recent 2 weeks, and I know that Public Works was looking at all aspects of this, and we're looking at, I guess I'm looking to see if you have any final recommendation on this, Steve.
I think it's a reasonable thing. I think we're going to be doing pretty much that same thing that they're formally organizing.
So what would this
I don't
be
have-
in
and
response to?
Ryan looked at it too. And,
Just so we can say it out loud with all this, what it is.
Would be for the city of Tipton to...
Yes, because first of all, there's no cost.
Right, the only cost would be, our sharing of resources, which goes both ways in the event of emergency. And it is council approval to authorize the city of Tipton to join this consortium.
well, we're on board with that whole concept. And Brian Brennan did look at that as well. He's not here tonight, but as long as it doesn't cost us.
We share resources. I mean, if there's an emergency in Tipton and another entity is nearby, this provides the formalized version of what we generally do anyway, which is show up to help each other out, and it works both ways.
More like a cooperative agreement.
It is,
Okay.
an interagency cooperative agreement.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's it in a nutshell. And again, I think I heard you say that Brian Brennan had reviewed this as well and had no objection.
Is there a motion to approve this, or if you guys need more time to research this too, this can be tabled as well.
I don't see any reason to table it. It's going to be beneficial to everybody involved. So moved.
All right, Mr. Leeper has made a motion to approve this,
I'll second.
and Boots with the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
All right, so now on to approval of a minor subdivision outside the city limits, but within the 2 mile, is that it? The 2 mile?
Planning radius.
Yes.
This is similar to an earlier request in which before the county can consider approving a rural subdivision, if it's within the 2 mile planning area of the city, it needs council approval to okay. And this is additional work to an existing subdivision, rural subdivision, but again, they need the city council's approval before they can proceed.
So has the P and Z board, is it required for them to review that?
No, it's not. It's only need a council, only action of council to okay. I mean, you could remand it to the council, sorry, the P and Z.
But yeah, we just
Is
did
that not
this.
something
we just
We just did this a month ago as well.
Yeah, I know, and I don't think it went to them then
No, it didn't.
either. I mean, I guess that's who I would look at to tell me about this stuff.
It's not required,
Okay.
and it frankly would save a meeting.
And it's outside of Tipton,
Yeah,
outside of the city of
This is a
Tipton.
county subdivision, so they're just asking us to approve.
What they're concerned about, what this law is concerned about, is the potential for a county board to approve a subdivision that would be detrimental to the city of Tipton, such as the development of a livestock slaughtering operation, any of a number of things that would be seen as detrimental to a community. It provides the council the opportunity to weigh in on the subject. Or if you're having issues with, and I've seen this in Illinois, where rural subdivision requirements tend to be lower so that someone could put in a tar and chip street literally on your boundary and essentially shortchange your own subdivision regulations, whereas the city may say, no, we expect poured concrete, curb and gutter streets, full sewer and water. If a insufficient subdivider were to come to a neighboring property and wish to essentially upend your development regulations by doing this on your boundary, this is your opportunity to weigh in and say, no, we have our expectations for how subdivisions are going to be in Tipton, Iowa, and we do not approve of someone shortchanging the process. So that's why this is brought to you.
So this basically is just an extension of secluded ridge addition?
Yes, expansion, a continuation of an existing subdivision.
Yeah.
All right, so is there a motion on this?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Anderson with the first to approve this,
Second?
and Lieber with the second.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, so that's been approved, and now to the final motion for approval is a garbage exemption at 509 and 511 Cedar Street.
This was Amy's review, so what is the
Actually, Cindy
city? Okay, well then we'll,
did it up, and he pays at 3 locations, and he's asking for 2 of them to be exempt, so he doesn't accumulate garbage.
All right, but our code says that it can be,
There's a minimum charge, correct?
you reduce the charge for the other two.
so there will never be a full exemption per se.
No, it's
Just a
reduced
reduction.
charge.
And is that what he's asking for?
Yes.
Okay. So then that,
So then that goes off if somebody occupies the building later on and would have utilities changed into their name, then that's no longer.
Yes.
so then he'll just have the minimum fee at the 501 and 511,
Yes.
and then like the Boots asked
The
if
511 and 505.
and like Boots
Sorry,
asked
509.
if somebody were to occupy those buildings, then it would just automatically start back up.
Start back at the regular fee.
Okay. All right, is there a motion on this? To reduce it to the minimum fee? McNeil with the first,
Second?
and Leeper with the second?
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Lieber.
Yes.
All right, so that has been passed. And now to the discussion items. The first one got struck, so we're on to the second one, which is rationale and planning for the overhaul of the Fairbanks Morse genset. Floyd? Rationale.
Yes. Strive for rationale.
Earlier I passed out this sheet here. Kind of doesn't go in order, but that's the way the spreadsheet was done. At the bottom of the page, what we're getting credited with right now, with just 2 engines, is $115,000, $115,248. Now, Louisa, when you throw that in there, it's another $117,000. So it brings the total to $233,086.14. Then as we go up, if you go up to number 2, you'll see the red line across there. That is consideration of the OP engine. There's no dollars paid on that. Right now, if we get everything accredited that we have, and including the WISA, we'll have $359,212.14 come to us in credits for a year's time. Now, when you go down to the number 1, just right below that, the accreditation of the OP engine amounts to about $62,000. It would be $61,740. That would bring us to a grand total, including the WISA, of $420,952.14. And even if you looked at a 20% reduction, let's say RPGI would have to decide if they want to do a reduction in what they pay for credits. 20% of the $303,000 would be about $60,600 reduction, which would probably put us right back to the line above about $359,000, like we didn't have the OP fixed. So with that said, I think we really need to seriously consider rebuilding the OP engine. There's a number of reasons, not just the financial reasons. If everything falls down in the middle of the summer, or they call us to generate to cover our entire load, we can't do it. We're about 800 kilowatts shy of being able to cover that. We would have to do things. I talked to Steve and Brian about this before, about putting the water in the sewer plants in kind of a shut-off mode. The water plant, you would have to run the high service pumps. Do you know, Steve?
That's a question for Brian.
Okay. Well, when Brian and I talked, he figured he could fill the tower in the morning and probably get by for the day. The water treatment plant would be off. The sewage treatment plant, there is a generator down there. I would ask them to run that. We would have to start cutting load to other places too. If the county would happen to put in that natural gas generator, I would ask them to go on natural gas and shed that load too. And then there's the other things that we'll have to do is start dropping the voltages on the system and doing load reductions that way. So, with that being said, Tim put together the stuff, basically the same stuff I've been talking about. If you look at the 2 quotes, the Fairbanks Morris quote is like 200 and I do not have that.
279, 073 combined, but
Okay.
no turbos.
And that's with no turbos or the blower being rebuilt. And there was another add to that too, and that was a $23,000 adder that I wanted done, and that was the vertical drive. The vertical drive ties the 2 crankshafts together, the upper and the lower. And basically what they wanted to do was just replace the parts that we had. I said, no, I do not want to pull this crankshaft out again. I want this thing went through, and I want it done right. So they came back with a quote of $23,700 and some on the vertical drive rebuild. But like I say it doesn't take into account the turbochargers or the blower, which I believe they both need attention. And then when you look at the Cypress quote, it is about $50,000 higher, but it does take into account the turbochargers and the blowers, and the blower, only one. There's several upgrades on the engines that both places recommend that we do. One of it was the ring catchers, the heat blankets, some of those things, which I feel are very important for maintenance reasons. The ring catcher, what it is, and when people hear that, they want to know, well, what's the ring catcher for? What this does is if you do have problems with the engine, the rings possibly can break in these. It's not very often, not very common, but they have had them break. And then they'll go through the exhaust port and then get sucked up into the turbos, and then they destroy the turbos. This engine does not have them currently installed. So it's something I look at and say, man, this is a no-brainer. You know, we really want to do this if we go ahead and fix it. Tanya and I have talked about this quite a bit, and things have changed at Fairbanks Morris. We would not get, you remember Steve Lang, the gentleman that was here and talked to us about a year ago, we would not get him. He's been put back, what is it? I think he's in sales again now. So he's not helping to rebuild engines and stuff like that, so we miss out on that expertise. Cypress engines though, John and Gary both used to work for Fairbanks Morris. Donna Ohm, who does our power plant compliance testing, she recommended, or she speaks highly of them. She didn't recommend them, but she speaks highly of them. They do, between the two of them alone, they got over 50 years of experience on working on these engines. And he's hired a lot of Fairbanks Morris's retired help, and they've come to work for him. So I feel real comfortable hiring Cypress engines if we would decide to do that.
I keep asking this question all night, but do you know how long it would take from beginning to end?
Depends upon how soon we can get the parts ordered, and because some of the parts do have like a 3 to 6 month lead time. Like right now, I know the liners are 10 to 12 weeks. So we would look, once it got started and all the parts got here, we figured it's going to take us 2 to 3 weeks of every day in there, and then there'd be some overtime involved probably too. Because like I told him, I says, once we get started and if we're lowering the crank, I don't want to stop right then. I want to get in there, get it done, and get it finished up. So I'm thinking it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, and we will have to dedicate at least 2 employees to it all the time. That's what they want. And they're going to bring probably 2 to 3 employees of their own. So I'll be there as much as I can, but I can't say that I'm going to be there every day. Sometimes I get called away to go take care of other things.
So are you looking to pay for this out of next fiscal year?
I'm looking at paying for some of it if we can get a PO sometime here soon out of this year's. Did you include that on the
Capital equipment.
There was a capital outlay line that I've got $170,000 in that I have not spent, and it would pay for almost half of it. So that would give us the ability to order the parts and pay for them in this budget year, and then pick up the remainder in the next budget year. And I could probably, without drawing down into reserves, I could probably swing it.
That's my next question.
don't want to dig into the reserves anymore. I want to start building them back up. But I'm also kind of a greedy guy, and I kind of want the money from them too. The $420,000 a year. So, but I think I explained that process. So, and we're 450 days out. So, well, maybe not quite that, maybe about 430, so.
All right. We'd like to bring this back, a little refinement for a decision at the next council meeting. I think we can do that. If you have specific questions, by all means, get to Floyd or me.
Yeah, email me, call me, stop by.
in.
I mean, if you wanna go look at the engine again and have me explain some things, Tanya and I can help do that anytime. Just call us and let us know. So, Pam, you look like you got a question. No? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So then the next one, which is the review and discussion of rate structure for gas and electric.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll tackle electric tonight. In your packet was a couple of summary pages from Latham Associates study that he completed last year, and he pretty nearly exhausted utility billing and finance staff in pulling together a lot of data. If you want the whole spreadsheet, I can send you all 13 pages of it. But I put together just the summary pages so you could see the outcomes. If you look at Schedule 12, the electric rate comparisons page, Bob did a number of comparisons of the current rate structure and the proposed rate structure. The most significant change is in the base rate, the service charge, if you will. Currently, it's at $6 for residential per month, and that base $6 is intended to cover overhead of operations. And then the energy charge, which is the second part of the rate, the energy charge per kilowatt hour. Currently, the energy charge is at roughly 10.25 cents per kilowatt. The proposal is to drop that to just 7.25 cents per kilowatt hour, but the difference is made up by the increased base service charge. Doing that provides a more steady stream of income so that you can maintain and make improvements to your system. This is, again, Latham based this on discussions with the department and with finance and with utility billing, so that we made sure that they had competent numbers in terms of outcomes. Revenue-wise, it is very close to the same proposed to current, but what it does do is it also, if you look down at your commercial, any one of the commercial accounts, you can see that those are currently at 11 cents per kilowatt hour, and the proposed drops that to 6.7 cents, 6.8 cents per kilowatt hour. So your high users, the fact that you have a high user doesn't require as much attention and fussing after as us residential folks. So there's some reduction in cost because it's generally simpler to deal with. Also, the demand charge is increased slightly from $10 per kilowatt to $11.72. That is encouragement for those high output users to find ways to make their operation more efficient so they don't have these big peaks. The startup of their equipment is softened by either their timing the startup or buying more efficient equipment. Because if you have a big high peak, it means you have to have bigger cables, bigger transformers, everything going into it's bigger because you got to be able to carry that high peak load when it starts up. So this provides further encouragement for folks to find ways to shave those peaks, which makes it easier on the whole system. To to look at, and I always ask this, you look at the person who lives modestly and perhaps in a fixed income, the person with a 325 kilowatt hour demand for their, or load for their house. Currently, and on your sheet it's the second one from the top, currently that person is paying $44.33 a month for electricity. Under the proposal, it would rise slightly to $45.47. The larger household user of 650 kilowatt hours, that actually goes down slightly from $82 to $78. So there's pluses and minuses on the residential side. Your commercial side, you generally see slight reductions in the range of 1% to 2%. But again, it's a rate structure that encourages greater efficiency, both for high demand commercial users and also for residential users. So we bring this to you so you can begin to digest the material. We still need to get the gas document in front of you. I will get that in front of you with Virgil's help next week. So we could hopefully bring this to the council for the second meeting in May. This started because generally the council in past years has just added 1% to its bills year to year, and it's certainly better than not doing anything. But a little over a year ago, you authorized the engaging of this Latham Associates, an energy economist, so that we got a better rate structure that more accurately reflected what you need to have. That's my dry as sawdust, boring pitch on rates. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer or direct them to Floyd or Virgil. And if there's something I missed, either of you.
The only thing that I would say is that, because I think it was a good study, it was based off good factual information. One of my former employers right now, we're very fortunate, Tipton is, as a city and as a utility. Our agreement with RPGI, I think, is probably one of the best in the state. We have a really good deal with them. Every 5 years they go out and look for a new wholesale provider to keep the one that we currently have honest. That helps us in a lot of ways, but one thing I didn't bring you tonight was I wanted to show you what one of my former employers is looking at for rate increases. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. They're 13-14% increases. Their price per kilowatt will surpass, or has already surpassed, ours. And their basic rate structure, the basic charge, is higher than ours. And they're right there on the dividing line. They were wanting to build a motel. It was a Holiday Inn, if I remember correctly. And the line where the division between Mid-American, I'll just say it, Indianola, they put the transformer on the Mid-American side because the kilowatt hour charge was that much less that they opted to go with the investor-owned than they would typically where they would go with the municipal. And we're in a very good position where we're at in our contracts. And I think that's something that, goes back to plenty of years ago, and it's a good thing for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Long.
I also learned that when I went to school up in Hank learned it from the same guys that he used to work for. So, same city. They said Tipton's got a good situation here.
All right, so now on to the reports. The mayor's reports. We had our, hopefully what will become a first annual bike ride across town a couple weeks ago. It was It was a good time, beautiful day. It seemed like there was plenty of people uptown at the courthouse square to see what was all there, and everybody made it out to the community garden and made it back. So I would deem that a success. There are council reports, committee reports, city manager.
Working on several job descriptions also for the next meeting, and we we're reminded again that we need to get RFP out for engineering services for the aquatic center. The roof membrane has come almost entirely loose, and it tends to wave in the wind, which is not what you want in a roof. So that's clearly in my front burner for the next couple of weeks.
All right, department heads. All right, then we have oh. Okay.
No, just an update of, we talked about the stop sign situation between the middle school and, well, it's on West 7th Street. We found what I think is a workable situation. We have 2 stop signs that are actually been ordered, and they will actually fold in this way. Because the problem is that road is very narrow, and when you pull a stop sign out to the middle of the street, cars and trucks are hitting it. So we will have those, and they already have posts there with the walkway signs. So this will be added onto those posts, and then they can be folded in a little padlock. So whenever we need them, when we don't need them, so that should be taken care of. And I think I did not tell the council yet, but we did get $1,500 in our grant for our ballistic vests. That won't cover the full price, but we did get $1,500. So that will help. That's all.
All right, thank you. All right, then a motion for adjournment. Boots with the first and Anderson with the second.
Boots? Yes. Peterson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Bickford?
Yes.
Hill?